Well, kind of a short, long run today. Whatever, let's get it over with.
Now that that initial frivolity is out of the way, welcome back. My training for the Kosci 50 is in full swing, and with only about 3 weeks to go until the race, things are starting to get pretty interesting. In the last episode, I shared some issues that I'd had with hydration in previous training runs, and in this one, I'm going to jump into just how I've tweaked things a little bit to overcome those issues. I'll also briefly discuss scheduling and how I'm going sticking to the schedule and one or two things that I've learned about that as well. But before we get to that good stuff, I suppose I should do a quick check-in. As you can see from this lovely line of tick boxes here, I've been pretty consistent with my training, which I'm really happy about. In fact, we're into the first week of November. You can see mostly that's continued. I have missed a couple of gym sessions just because I felt pretty wrecked from the previous day. As I said in the last episode, I will skip those gym sessions if my body's not feeling up to it. Another win is looking at this column over here where it's just my weekly totals. Started off strong, talked about that last time as well. 51 kilometers, and then I've done 42 and a half, back up to 51 and a half, and then my biggest week, 57 and a half. This last week, subsequent to that, I've taken it easy, and I think my total was 35 kilometers for the last week. So I've been very consistent, and I'm just having a bit of a rest week there, or I have had a bit of a rest week. And this week onwards, this last kind of 3 weeks that I have for training, I'm ramping that back up again, and I'll be hoping to hit maybe 60 kilometers for the week and then taper from there for the next week and a half. So that's all been going pretty well. At the end of episode 1, I said I was going to do a weigh-in each time. Haven't bothered with that, and that's mostly because weight hasn't changed. So I expected I would at least be losing a few kilos, but I suppose the very obvious things happening and I'm exercising more, I'm getting hungry, and I'm eating more, and it just all sort of cancels out. The time to lose weight is probably after the event, when my mileage can slack off a little bit and focus on the weight loss rather than doing loads of exercise. So that's sort of out the window. Another lesson learned, right? All right. Time for some wisdom that's probably very obvious to everyone but me. In episode 2, I told you the story about how I went out on a hot day, 1 liter of water, didn't plan my route very well, and subsequently got very dehydrated, had a pretty bad time of it. Since then, I've made one significant change to the way I've planned the longer runs that's basically just eliminated that problem altogether. It's not carrying more water. Previously, when I needed to go out for, say, a 30-kilometer run, I would get on Garmin and plan out a 30-kilometer trail. And I thought, that's great. It's adventurous, so, going out over the hills into the backwoods and blah, blah, blah. And then that happened, and I realized maybe not such a great idea. Since then, all I've done is, instead of planning one 30-kilometer trail, I'll plan out a 10-kilometer trail, make it a loop, and that way I come back past my start point every 10 kilometers. And at my start point is my car. So I've got extra water, extra snacks, and nutrition type stuff, sunscreen, towel. It's like having a mini aid station every 10 kilometers. And it's literally the best. I thought it would be boring at first, but the convenience far outweighs like having a constant change of scenery. So there it is. That's my hot tip for overcoming hydration issues. So that's cool. The other thing I've been doing is I've been playing with this stuff or trying it out. This is Tailwind. Not particularly recommending this brand. There's probably others that do the same thing. That's just the one that I've got. And it's just a sachet of powder that you pour into your water bottles. And it contains, I think in the sachet there, 200 calories, including 50 grams of carbohydrate. So 50 grams of carbs is equivalent to 2 of these Endura gels. I know other gels perhaps have more, but these have been my go-to. And, you know, it's got other stuff, magnesium, potassium, sodium, all the stuff that you kind of need when you're making a big effort and losing these things due to sweat loss. So the nice thing about it, oh, it's also got caffeine. So there's that as well. The nice thing about that is that you don't have to think about it. You don't have to time calorie intake, gels and things like that. Just as you're sipping your water, I'm getting like 200 calories, which is like been really good. It is fairly expensive. So the sachet, I've not actually used the sachet. I've got this for race day only, but we did just buy a big bag of it and you scoop it into your water beforehand, shake it up, and there it is. So it remains to be seen whether it's any good for my stomach, like on a longer effort. I've only done it up to 30 kilometers. I've used that. So we'll see. I think my race day strategy will be to keep topped off with the Tailwind and then use the aid stations just to get some real food. But you know, maybe I don't need to be slamming down a whole heap of gels and things like that on the way. I'll talk more about nutrition strategy in the next episode once I've had a bit more time to test and tweak that a bit. Perhaps as a result of these tweaks that I've made, the last 3 longer runs that I've done now have been cramp-free. And when I say cramp-free, not even a hint of a cramp, which is pretty good. Like, it's the first time I've ever run 30 kilometers without feeling any sort of cramping. So it feels pretty good. Lastly, I just wanted to say a few things about having a training plan. So it's really easy to make a plan and say, that's it, I'm just going to stick with it. Obviously, life doesn't always work out quite that neatly. It's good to have a plan, but it's also good to be flexible. So we've had a few very hot days here. We've also had some storms in the afternoon. Where I live, temperature tends to build through the day, and then we get these storms right around like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. After I've finished work and I actually want to go out and do a run, it starts pissing down. So had to work around that. There's a storm on Thursday, so I'll just go to the gym on Thursday instead of running, and then I'll run on Friday. If I've got another run scheduled for Saturday, then maybe I just have to back off that Friday run a little bit. But it's still better than just sitting at home and going, oh, I wish I could go running. So I have had to make a few compromises like that, but overall, it's not been too bad, actually. Like anything, you do it for a few weeks and you get into a bit of a groove. Having said that, I think that this is maybe about the limit to what I could easily maintain. Like if I was training for a 100K race and I had to do more distance on all of these runs, I think it would get a bit tricky just managing the time. But, you know, for my weekly totals, they've been between about 40 to 55 kilometers a week, plus a few gym sessions. I have found that that's achievable and relatively sustainable as well. So I guess that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Just making good progress, looking forward to this last couple of weeks, and then especially looking forward to the taper afterwards, where I can just kick back and relax a little bit. I think next time I will give you another update on how the nutrition stuff is going. I'll be talking about an actual strategy for the race, how I need to adapt to that specific course. And I'll probably run through some gear that I'm using, what's working, what's not working. I think that's it. I hope it wasn't too boring. probably was, but if you're still here, then maybe you didn't find it boring, in which case, come back next time, hit subscribe if you're interested, and I'll see you then.